The whole point is to plan a bit, and think about, like, I'm talking about hours. I was saying, like, 50 cents an hour for your computer, but maybe at some point you won't want to plan hourly base. Hourly base is a North American employee-employer type of relationship. Maybe you want a price per day. I had a friend who, when he started as a freelancer, he said to me at some point, I'm never spending less than a day on a project. And I'm never spending less than 10 hours a day on a project. And obviously he was looking for types of project that would require a day of work. But he was saying, if I'm not working actively 10 hours, I'm thinking actively about this project before starting out, right? So now hours don't make sense. It's really like a day thing. And then you can start to charge per day if you prefer that way to do things. Obviously, if you're doing super small tasks, it's really hard to say to someone like, hey, I'm going to take a day to do this. But if you're doing, for example, illustration, some people will try to cheap you out of illustration work by saying, oh, how much time did you spend on this illustration? Like 4 or 5 hours? And you're like, I thought about the sketch for this for like 3 days, and then I took a day to do it. And so it's the thing about that, right? Because obviously if you work for a studio, they were probably prepared to work for you, so you won't have much thinking to do. Like, often like stuff that, most animator might discover with their first gig. But as an animator, you don't decide anything. You just execute on a storyboard that is already provided to you. But as a freelancer, maybe sometimes they're going to ask you to come up with a storyboard suggestion. And then maybe you're going to do it quick, but you will think about it like 5 hours before to really find the idea. And so at some point, the question is, do you bill for that? Do you not bill for that? I would highly recommend everybody to bill for the time you work on things. Because sometimes at first you think that thinking is not working, but that's not true. Like if you go to school and you learn how to think about, for example, storyboarding, then that means that the whole time you're thinking about it, that's prep time, right, for the work. And obviously, I'm not saying like, go play video games and think about it. I'm more thinking about like if you were sketching very loosely and nothing concrete comes out of it, it's still working time, still prep time that you can factor in.
Thanks for listening to the CG Spectrum podcast. For more on this episode, visit us at cgspectrum.com/podcast. Check out our show notes where you'll find links to our guests and more behind the scenes. And if you're enjoying the show, please like, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening, or share this episode with someone who might like it. See you next time.